Hello everyone and welcome to today's step-by-step oil pastel tulips drawing. I am Kara, aka Fairy Creations. Let's get started. We're gonna start today by creating squares, and I'm just going to draw 3 squares, but you can draw as many as you want. These squares are where we're going to put our flowers. When we're done creating our squares, we're going to pick one and draw a triangle at the top half of the square, and keep your triangle within the square. Then we're going to use tiny lines to mark each angle on our triangle. The purpose of this is to give us a guide so that we can start placing our petals. Now, if this looks a little weird and a little wonky, that's okay. After we draw that initial triangle, we are also going to add in another triangle on top of that. So we're looking to create a triangle half of the original one, and we're going to put it on either the right or left side of our square. I chose the right side, but you could totally do it on the left side. And then lastly, I add a half circle at the bottom to kind of represent where that stem is going to go. So if your drawing right now looks like a Picasso piece, that's totally fine. That is exactly where we need to be. So at this point, I'm going to start drawing my closest outside petals. Now this flower is going to be a very closed flower. It's going to be kind of like a tulip or a rose that hasn't bloomed yet. So we're trying to keep these petals close together but still separate enough to be their own individual creation. So on these outside flowers, you're going to start at the bottom and then work your way towards that guideline that we drew at the angle of your triangle. You'll do this both for the left and right side, and you'll have one of the petals overlapping the other. We're drawing 6 petals in total because that's the number that a tulip naturally has. You could totally do more if you would like, if you're trying to do more of like a rose flower. To each their own. Feel free to add as many petals as you want. Once you feel you have all of your petals in place, you can erase your guidelines, and you may have to go back and retrace some of those lines that are actually petals, but if you have a smaller eraser than I have, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I also want to reiterate that this takes practice. So if you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling like you just don't understand how to put the petals in a certain place, that's totally okay. That's why we're here. We're here to grow and learn as artists and support each other in the art community. So if this takes you a couple of tries, that's totally fine. Practice on a scrap piece of paper, and then when you feel like you're ready, get your actual canvas or sketchbook that you want to put it in. I'm going to do the same process for the other 2 flowers. Now, something that's going to be different on this next flower that you see is that I'm going to add some shading into my inside parts. So I'll keep this one plain for now so that you can look at it and have a guide if you're following along in real time. But I'll go back later and add some shadows in there. All right, time for the second flower. Take a breath. You totally got this. So to give our petals just a little bit more shape and depth to them, I'm gonna add some folds on a few of my petals. And this is going to indicate that they have this like cupping or curved feature. At this point, I'm gonna go in and add some shading to give these petals some dimension. You totally can skip this part if you are just looking to maybe color these and not really add like a ton of detail to them. That is totally fine. If you're looking to do more of like graphite, pencil, maybe even charcoal drawing with this, I'm gonna add in those shading details so that you can see what that would look like. So we are officially done with our sketch part of this. Now you could totally leave this here and just have this really nice pencil graphite drawing. I'm gonna go in and actually color it a little bit with my oil pastels. You could also do this with colored pencils, with paint, like watercolors and stuff. Get creative, it's your own unique artwork. But for me, I'm just going to be using some gallery oil pastels that I have on hand. Now for this first flower, I want it to be this kind of lighter pinky color. So I'm going to go in with my lightest first and then layer on my darkest colors. This just makes it easy because going from lighter to darker, it's a lot easier to layer that than going from darker to lighter. That can get kind of messy. So I'm going to be starting with this nice salmon-y light color. For me, I want to add in those darker colors where I see that the flower has some folds or is still really close together. It adds that shadow, giving it a lot of depth. I did go ahead and blend in these colors with my flower, and I'm not sure if I like it better than whenever I just had the oil pastels on there. This is something you can definitely play with, and this creates your own artistic style. So here I'm kind of playing around with blending, but after I did it, I kind of wish that I had kept that nice open space that was before I actually blended it, but that's what all this is about, right? Just growing and learning. So does it turn out terrible? No, but I kind of like the style before that, and you'll see that on the last flower I actually do keep that style, and instead of blending it, I just let it sit with what I had put on the paper. So this last flower I kept pretty unblended just to give you guys kind of a feel of what that would look like if you didn't mix all your colors together. I'm still doing layering though, so I started with my lightest yellow and I'm continuing to layer on with darker yellows or even some oranges. Ultimately, I think it's a toss-up for me on whether I like them blended more or if I like them just layered. Either one I think looks good. I probably, now that I made the 2 flowers really blended, I probably should have made the 3rd flower blended, but all in the process of art. Now for the stems, I'm just going to continue layering some green colors on there. You'll see that I'm doing some stippling. That is the dot-like technique that I'm using. And that's just to add some texture to that stem. I do go over it with another lighter color to blend it a bit better, but you can still see that it gives it a little bit of texture. Alright, so we are officially done with these flowers. Now, you can keep them this nice, dreamy, creamy colors. I really like outlining my details. So I'm going to go in with a black marker. This is a completely optional step, but I'm going to go in and outline my petals of my flowers. For this outlining, I'm just using a Bic black permanent marker. This is their Intensities collection. I find that these are like one of the only markers I can actually use to layer on top of oil pastels. Other markers tend to get clogged or wear out more easily, but these do a really good job of drawing on top of that layer. I'm also using really light pressure here because I don't want a super thick line when it comes to these flowers. I really just want to gain the essence of what those petals look like. And then you can see the last thing I do is I go back and I draw in those folds of the petals where I had that nice cup-like structure. And I go through and also outline our stem. And voila, there are our flowers. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this creative journey with me. If you choose to post any of your artwork from this video, please tag me. I have an Instagram account called Clefairy Creations. You can tag me here on YouTube. You can also tag me on Pinterest. And yeah, I'd love to share and like your work and see how you guys took this and ran with it in your own creative and unique way. Happy creating, everyone. I will see you next Friday.